city of Polokwane financially stable? Is this city able to collect revenue? When will the city of Polokwane receive a clean audit? And what informs the sporadic service delivery protests around Polokwane? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The city of Polokwane hosts the headquarters of the province of Limpopo. Whereas the city is a modern establishment with first-class or first-world facilities, it however also hosts rural communities in its jurisdiction. So it is effectively a city of the rich, but also a city of the poor. The city has been battling to get a clean audit, which is a task that faces its executive mayor, Councillor Thembi Nkadimeng. She's my guest today and joins me from our Polokwane studios. Executive Mayor, welcome to the show, and we really appreciate you giving us your time. Let's start with what I asked here in the first four questions as to, are you, and by you I mean the city, financially stable?
Oh yes, good afternoon to you and your viewers. I think as a city we are financially stable. We have been able to improve our debt collection and reduce the debt book. Of course, it's still sitting at about 570 million, with the highest chunk being owed by Mankweng. But the promotion that we have seen happening in the past financial year is us moving from about 40% to doubling it at about 82%.
Okay.
So that's the collection rate. Of course, we are still left with the small percentage of making it 100 to make sure that the city collects everything that is owed to it.
Okay. Now, you're saying that the biggest chunk of the debt that you have is owed by the Mankweng area. Has this got to do with the fact that they have two big institutions there? You have the Teflop campus of the University of Limpopo and also
Yes.
the Mankweng Hospital?
Well, yes, that's one of the reasons. But also you have had reasons where residents or household felt that they don't have confidence in the system that the Polokwane municipality is running, and they decided to stop paying services, I think, for the past 2-3 years.
Okay. That's our next point. Collection of revenue. How bad is it?
I think that's what I've articulated too. Our collection, it's improving in terms of comparing the two previous financial year and the last one, which we have just closed now in August. We are sitting now at a collection rate of about 60-70%.
Okay.
Of course, when you are collecting with the 30% minus, you still have a lot of hard work to do. But let's take Mankweng as an example. You know there have been riots in the past 2-3 weeks. And the riots in Mankweng were precisely about the community saying our billing system is not correct, our basic services are not up to standard, and therefore they do not believe that they have to pay for something that is not worth to be paid for.
Now, see, the problem of the billing system seems to be quite a national concern, because even cities such as the Joburg Metro also had that. What is causing this disparity, which even the consumers would have to even have grounds to question?
I think ours is slightly different. Let's look at Mankweng, for example. Mankweng is it's sectioned as a R293. That is a township in our ordinary language. Yet, while you just cross the street on the R71, you have got R188. And those are sectioned as rural areas. But we provide the same service, But you collect only in Mankweng and you don't collect in Sbayeng, for example.
Yes.
You don't collect in Radekale, whilst they look the same. If you go through the R71 proceeding up, there's a new settlement that is coming up next to, just between Mankweng and Nobody. Double stories, but they are proportioned as rural areas because that's how the land was. It's communal land. So communal land are mostly by law segregated as R188. So you're not supposed to collect there because it's deemed to be for people who are poor. But the fact of the matter is that life has changed, accessibility to town, and the closeness of the city itself attracts people to come and sit in the outskirts of the city. So it means our promulgation needs to change, and that's the billing issues which you are talking about.
But Executive Mayor, I mean,
because
if you're talking...
residents are saying, I can't pay, and my neighbor doesn't pay, and we receive the same service.
That's what I wanted to come to, because if you're going to say that people live in what they have now established as a upper-class suburb in what is supposed to be a rural area, they are receiving the same services. Why can't they pay for that?
Well, it's a process that the municipalities up with Coxstar are dealing with. But remember, it's about proclamations of townships. It's not a thing that the council can sit and take a resolution and then proclaim. It has got its own processes, and you have got quite a number of pockets of them in Polokwane. You will understand. I mean, even private farms, people sell their private farms and open an estate quickly. And at least there, the municipality is able to collect rates and services because we monitor even the building of those houses. But those which are in R188, you can't even monitor their building and their standards because they are not compelled by law to comply because they are in the rural area.
Okay. Now,
you may also have a tragedy
council,
where...
I wanted to say, just allow me to interject there. I wanted to say that your municipality, as I mentioned in my intro here, you cater for, the richest of the rich, right there within the city center. But you also have very rural and very poor people.
We're actually 70% rural and 30% urban. And your 30% just comes from town. So it's your town, your Ladana, your Westernburg, and a portion of the Sishiko area, But where it cuts up to Blood River upwards is R188. So it's quite a mixture. That makes it very difficult because in the 70% we almost don't benefit from rates and services.
Okay, hold that thought there. I want us to just take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. This question time, please don't go away.
Africa is growing at a rapid rate.
A huge part of this African growth is technological innovation.
Like a group of students hard at work in Uganda developing tools that will save lives. Or an African-developed payment method making the public transport industry cashless in Kenya.
You book me through M-Pesa.
There are apps only for people who live here. And the continent is accepting the growth of modern technology usage in people's everyday lives.
The ICT revolution now belongs to Africa.
This is information that matters to us.
To find out a bit more about social media and technology news, join Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is the Executive Mayor of the City of Polokwane, Councillor Thembi Gadimeng. Now, Executive Mayor, welcome back to the show. I wanted to just check with you. You've got 70% rural area and 30% urban. And you're saying the urban areas are mainly your city center. But how are these city residents or inhabitants helping those in the rural areas? What kind of revenue are you collecting in the city center, and how much percentage does it account for in terms of revenue collection? And you've got a place such as what is called Tender Park there in Polokwane, where we are told that you cannot leave if you do not have a tender from government.
No, it's not true, man.
Okay, fine. But how are residents from Tender Park assisting somebody either in Mamtintani or somewhere in Chibing?
Listen, the Polokwane municipality has accelerated the improvement of services everywhere to an extent that roughly we could be able to even increase the collection rate in areas which have been R118s, which we are working on promulgating them into being R293s.
Yes.
That is your Solomon Dale, the Khale, the portion of Mankweng upward to nobody. Those communities are receiving roads, water, and electricity. We can be able to collect. And going up, for example, where Sishiko ends, where Khoshimloto reigns. And those townships have now improved, and the municipality is getting ready to increase into its collection, into its revenue collection as size, which must be promulgated as R293s.
Okay.
So we are looking at our urban-rural chart changing steadily from this 30% of urban and 70% rural to about 50-50. A huge backlog still lies in your Chweni Maja cluster.
Okay.
Where you will still remain with quite a lot that are still going to remain as R118 until there is sufficient or RDP standard ratings of services.
But now, why are you not able to get clean audits?
Well, we have moved for quite a number of years. We have been at this claim. At this time, we can say we have seen a positive shift. We are left with one area, particularly of asset management. We are at a qualified audit, and I'm looking forward next year to an unqualified audit. The areas of asset management, as you know, we had one huge asset category, which was promulgating about 8 asset registers. Into all of them were separate. So in the last financial year, we had to put them into one asset register. And I think we have done so well there. You should see the comments of the Auditor General on that side. We need to move with the 7 out of 8 and just add the 8 one, and we should be able to be on our unqualified audit. So I think this time around, clap a hand a bit.
But we would be able to even shout, hooray, if you had achieved, what other municipalities have achieved. Because it would appear that the Auditor General is actually concerned about the local government sector, in that there seem to be a lot of relaxation in terms of expenditures and, like you're saying, asset management as well.
Look, I think the areas that I'm saying are remaining are mainly 2 in Polokwane municipality. Is the putting up of the 7th of the 8 asset register book. But also one of the finding I had was that my municipality has over 123 billion assets, but it doesn't have an asset management unit. So it's difficult for us to manage properly our assets if we don't know them. And the municipality is still keeping assets which are good for the city, but they are not our core service. For example, we have a Polokwane Nature Reserve. You know, if you are handling your own asset management, it means you must be able at every time of audit to count all the animals that are there, all that have died, all that have reproduced, and be able to counterbalance them with your asset register. And the Auditor General is saying, but you need to commercialize this, own it as a city, but it's not your core business.
Yes.
So those are the areas that I'm left with, which made it difficult for the municipality to move to an unqualified.
Okay.
I mean, the municipality is sitting with over 600 service level agreements for suppliers, contractors, etc. So it does suggest to you that we are holding a very huge portfolio of asset management, and it needs us to be very serious about that. But we were found for the first time to be generally accountable to the recognized practice of accounting, something we have been failing to do for the past 10 years. It has been a lot of work though, but we are still going to soldier on.
Corruption?
Well, I have, like any other municipality, struggling and coming up with major programs which are killing on corruption. I have quite a number of my finance staff who have been suspended and are going hearings, and some have been excused officially from full-time employment. And that is to show that as the Polokwane municipality, we are serious when we deal with corruption. We have open lines where people report. The Office of the Mayor receives reports every month, and we follow them to the latter to ensure that there is no corruption. But ours extend far more than corruption, because we also look in terms of what does maladministration, how do we treat our customers, how do we care for them, how do we respond to them when they've raised an issue. Okay. So we are handling them together.
All right, hold that thought there. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll wrap up the show. This is Question Time. Please don't go away.
I would say there's no supplements or minerals, something that you can take will completely prevent cancer.
Although vitamins help the body produce and use energy, they do not provide energy themselves because they don't contain calories. Supplements also cannot be used to replace foods or make up for poor dietary habits.
Cases in Liberia are currently doubling every 15 to 20 days, and those in Sierra Leone and Guinea are doubling every 30 to 40 days.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sello Matau. Watch Health Talk every Saturday on SABC News.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guest today, the Executive Mayor of the city of Polokwane, Councillor Thembi Nkadimeng. Executive Mayor, welcome back. Now, there have been protests time and again within the city of Polokwane. The EFF has been on your case for some time now. How are you dealing with that?
Well, I usually don't look as to where the protests come from, but I look into the essence and the issues that are being raised by communities. We've slightly articulated into Mankweng in our interview. I've also had a protest from Solomon Dale, Sibayeng, regarding water issues. And we have just found a contractor to deal with the issues that they are having. We have had one protest in town in the CBD in our rental complex, where the community there in that township are complaining about the quality of the houses, which were built by the department at the time and were handed over to the municipalities. And we are working hand in hand with the department as well to look into the quality of the houses and probably the repairs that needs to be done. So I think the issue that there are riots in Polokwane is actually very far from the truth. But it can be true maybe on the other side that we have never had some. We have never had any actually. But and our communities have been patient. Those are the key areas which we had and mostly are surrounding water activities, the provision and the supply of water. And all of us know that we are a water-strained city. I mean, last week, all our dams were operating at 4%. I was actually at a scare that if we don't have a single drop of rain, by today we're not going to have water in the entire Polokwane. Yes, we have got plans to draw from Oliphant's Fontaine so that we subsidize or assist the Ebenezer Dam, where we are drawing water from mainly. And the Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation are assisting us with regard to that, because it's going to be a major project. We also have issues which are problematic with regard to our water reticulation, our waste treatment plants, which we are working as a municipality to build a new treatment plant actually.
Okay. Executive Mayor, I'm happy that you have touched on the water issue, because I must be honest with you, I've visited some of your service centers there, and I noticed something quite concerning, that most of the people, your engineers there in the water division, are old white males. What's happening to recruiting young stars who would be able to sustain the programs and projects? Because I would imagine that those people are going to retire.
I think that's very, very true. I think where we missed it as government earlier on in our times was to make sure that we put some proper succession planning with regard to our water and engineering services in the city. I am struggling with things like artisans, plumbers, before you can even go to a water engineer. But we have begun with that recruitment process. We have recruited about 4 assistant managers who are also going to assist us, not only in water, but also in our engineering division and the maintenance of our facilities.
Okay.
But it has been a 30-year gap. The last time we had appointed, the number of white people we have been articulating to was 30 years ago, and all along we have not had a plan clearly of ensuring that there's transfer of skills, and the last one is resigning now. In fact, is retiring now at the end of the year.
So you're going to be frustrated?
Well, not really. We have put an intervention plan with the Department of Water Affairs to assist us. But yes, you are right. It's something we could have planned for earlier on in life as a city. But we are working hard to change the situation around.
Okay. Now, there are sections of the city which are really degenerating. There's lots of drugs, there's prostitution. What is being done about that?
Well, we run, last week we with SABC, we have a campaign where we go back continuously and raid these areas. Particularly the areas around the centers of the down city of town, some pockets in Ladana, some pockets in Sishiko, where we are having problems with drugs and deteriorating of the environment and infrastructure. For example, in downtown, you have business people who have bought those houses because they are residential houses. They've never been rezoned as business. And then they sublet them to people who they don't even supervise what they do about their properties and in their name. You find one house with 60 occupants, and you wonder how does a 4-bedroom house have such people in terms of number. So we raid, we take them out with with Home Affairs and SAPS. We do a complete raid. It also goes even to our business. Last week we raided the China City complex where they've been operating illegally, without a license, without following business zoning processes. So it's an entire business mechanism that we are having as a security cluster of the provincial government.
Okay. Perhaps finally, there's huge numbers always that have to go to Moria, Easter, September, and generally over the weekends. Traffic doesn't seem to be getting lesser. Is there a time when people would have to just sail smoothly without having to tail each other for hours and hours before they get to church?
Yeah, I think we pride ourselves as a province and as a city that we have one of the greatest makers on earth as well. You may be aware that the SANRAL is extending the R71 towards City Moria. The city will also be dealing with the bypasses in terms of expansions to allow the free access and flow of traffic to the church. But also what will come as a form of comfort is that our phase 3 level of our BRT, our IRPTS program, will be going down towards Mankweng and the church.
Okay.
To ensure that a person can leave the airport, get into the train and be able to arrive at the church without forming part of the slow trail of the traffic. So there are provincial manned plans that assist the municipality in making sure that.
Okay, let me thank you. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Let me thank you for the time. That was question time for today. Big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show.
Thank you.
We welcome your feedback via email or our email address, questiontime@sabc.co.za. Twitter handle @questiontime24. You can also follow me @Paul Saying. From me and the crew, have a wonderful time. Goodbye.
Prominent names have been mentioned at the Arms Deal Commission, among them Winnie Madikizela Mandela.